The Fantasy Football Show.
Hello everybody and welcome to Planet Sky FF, the show each and every week that revolves around £50,000. My name's Serge.
And my name is James.
James, you're closer to the 50 big ones. I'm miles away because I messed up the double game week with Liverpool. It all went pear-shaped, Pete Tong. I'm 20k now from 15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know, just didn't use my transfers and Sky ended up becoming a afterthought.
Did you not bring players in for the West Ham game then?
Yeah, I did. And then I moved on and I captained Aubameyang on the weekend or whatever, but still... it wasn't exactly fill your boots time, was it? Salah captain basically covered most of it.
Yes, and same for myself as well. Thank goodness this isn't an FPL podcast. I can actually talk about something I'm doing all right in at the moment. I am now inside the top 2K.
That's nice. What's your total points?
Oh, no, I ain't even logged in yet. So
Don't even know your pin.
No, I don't. It's going to be a real issue. Let's have a quick look. So I am on a total now of 1,944 points.
Yes, you got 150 points on me.
A rank of 1,994, and it was nearly so much more as well because last Wednesday night, once the teams were announced for the West Ham Liverpool fixture, I sat down and put Jordan Henderson and Joe Gomez into my team for Sadio Mane and Mason Mount. And decided it wasn't worth it, and it's cost me about another 20 plus odds points as well. It's not a major issue. Look, 2 transfers, kind of a 10 plus net. I didn't even bother exactly to work it out. Felt a little bit better that Mount got 2 assists, having sat in my team forever. Would have been sod's law. Well. I took him out and he actually did something for a change. So yeah, it could have been better as well. I'm in a position now where just inside the top 2K, 17 transfers left, and having gone last Wednesday night, I jumped to thousands. At the weekend, I jumped to thousands. It helped me that it looked a ridiculous transfer a couple of weeks ago, but everybody missed their captain Sunday, basically, except for me. I had Leno.
Right, yeah.
So I was sort of a 15 points up on nearly everybody there.
Just off that.
Yeah, so that worked out on the day, although looking back, the 4 games of Leno, including 1 captaincy, was still worse than 3 games of Dean Henderson, which I moved from. It was about a point difference once you totaled it up.
You know what? You win some, you lose some. At least it wasn't 20 points difference or what have you.
Exactly. But now looking at that position where I've been targeting going, top 1,000, I'm like, nah, want to go beyond that.
Well, you're in a position to do it. I'm just going to have fun with my 20 transfers between now and the end of the season and see how high we can get. If I get into the top 10k, I think that'll do me. With 20 transfers, I should. But what we're in the middle of now, overhaul-wise, is pretty much the most important thing that we need to get right to get ourselves set up for the rest of the season. And according to the website, 2 days, 22 hours, 11 minutes until the overhaul window closes.
Noted. I don't know why you ever do them sort of things when by the time this goes out, it's different.
Yeah, that's true. When is the deadline?
The deadline will be kick-off of first game, won't it?
Everton, Crystal Palace,
12:30 on Saturday, so we get the benefit of the team news of Everton Palace, although they're 2 teams that are very unlikely to surprise. I think there's probably only a small clutch of players we'd consider from either of these 2 sides, and they should all start. So really shouldn't be anything from that issue in terms of waiting for the kick-off news.
Very interesting time overhaul to think about. I mean, there's lots of different ways you can go about planning your overhaul. I mean, you've got fixtures in hand, looking at form, looking at blanks that are coming up. How many transfers you have obviously has an impact on it. We only have the televised fixtures up until the end of March, which for Sky is game week 34. So there's still 7 game weeks after that, which could have an impact on captaincy days and what have you. So for me, I was planning to go into April with 5 transfers for the last 7 weeks.
How many have you got left?
20, mate.
You think you're going to use 15 in February and March?
Well, how many do I need in the last 7?
more than what you'll use between February and March, I would have thought.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
All right, so let's say I'm going to come out with 10. 10 and 10.
Better.
Okay. I'm going to save 10 for the last 7 weeks.
I'm not intending to use too many. I think we'll end up with... I mean, we talk about rearranged fixtures in a sec, but I think we'll end up with a log. I think there's going to be people struggling at the end going, oh, I've got 4 left. I want to make these 6-7 moves over the next sort of 10 days or something. You're going to have to make sacrifices. I think I'd rather make some sacrifices now than at the end. However, my original thought was to try and build a team that would take me towards the end of March and not make transfers. But for those
17's a lot.
For those watching on YouTube, you will see a very rare Planet FPL experience here, where there are notes spread across the table. Some research has been done.
Because you live in 1990, where they have paper and pens. And come on, technology, digitise. Yeah, you're not even helping the environment.
Our friend Dan Cox
paper.
Would disagree with the whole paper stuff.
He thinks have it all on computers.
No, have it all on paper. Yeah,
okay.
Dan can't cope with technology, mate. And I like to visually see something in front of me.
For me, it works better on the good old Excel. But between the two of us, we've got a plan, or we've got ideas on how people should go about planning. Because as much as it's interesting listening to what we're doing, I think the theory behind it is more interesting than the practicals of player A versus player B.
Yeah. First thing to say is I think probably that there aren't right or wrongs at this stage.
No, there are not.
If you want to go without a player from the first Saturday, I think that's okay. Just probably as the guys said on their brilliant Hub podcast from Sunday, I think probably from these first 6 captaincy options, you wouldn't want to miss more than one. Personally, I don't want to miss any of them. I treat it as exactly what it is, double points, almost like a 12th man. Essentially, you're going into the 1 game week with, what does it work out? 18 players, is it? Is that right? The math? 17 players, I think it works out, isn't it?
Something like that.
That's where I want to be. All right, I've got 11 players, but I want it to be 17. And there's the potential for making moves, I think, like, for example, potentially coming immediately off Everton if you go on them for this weekend. You've already said that you might be going a different route, so we'll discuss that. Right,
that is true. Firstly, I think we need to look at the rearranged fixtures because, everybody that listens pretty much plays FPL as well. That free hit in 31 now pretty much looks locked, right? With the number of fixtures that we know are happening, and it's no different from a Sky point of view.
I'm not sure I agree with your comments there on free hit 31.
No?
No, I mean, I might well be using it 34, but that's a different game.
Yeah, of course. I just think we were talking about whether Liverpool were available. If Liverpool were available, that would change it.
I still think Liverpool will lose to Chelsea because I still think they'll put out half a team.
They probably will.
I think the kids will get another shot.
So this next round of the FA Cup is...
So they're midweek fixtures. The first midweek of March, so that's after match day 28, the midweek after the Villa Manchester City Carabao Cup final.
Yep.
That's when we'll know there's no replays. Games will finish on the night. We will know as and then the lineup for game week or match day 31, if you will. It's also worth noting that the April TV fixtures are due to be announced on February the 21st.
Yep.
Which actually means that in theory we're only missing 1 match week before we get more information, with obviously these fixtures being split over 2 weekends. So there's only 1 round of matches to go, and then we know the April fixtures, and then there's 3 game weeks left after that. On April, just as a note,
April fixtures and the FA Cup stuff as well.
Yes.
At least for 31.
What you'll find, and we can predict this now with the April TV fixtures, because this announcement is going to come before the completion of the Champions League last 16 stage, we can predict now that a huge number of Liverpool, Man City, Tottenham and Chelsea fixtures will be lined up for Saturdays.
Yep.
I'm sure there'll be ones where they schedule them for the Sunday and then they go, depending on participation of yada, 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 this fixture could change with this fixture. But obviously, if these guys progress really deep in the Champions League, they're going to have a lot of Saturday fixtures. Because they can't take the chance that they end up
Sunday,
playing
Tuesday.
Champions League Wednesday, then Tuesday, then the Premier League fixtures got to be the Saturday, right?
Yep.
If this announcement is coming before the Champions League completion, that's obviously not until mid-March, the last 16 stage of the Champions League, then we can expect Liverpool to be covering much of our Saturdays.
Yep.
Just before we get onto potential reschedulements, because a lot of people have been asking me my opinions on that, a little teaser for you. So I just had a glance at someone who's been doing very, very well in this game recently, Jordan Henderson. 8.4 million. I think he's up to 5th or 6th highest scoring midfielder.
Okay.
We've written off that kind of Liverpool don't bother with the midfielders. We all wish we had Jordan Henderson in hindsight during January. For those of you who did, very well done. I had a look at his passing tier numbers, and I'm not going to give you the immediate answer for this. But essentially, Jordan Henderson has hit tier 2 passing 7 times and tier 1 twice. Only one of those was before December, so they're all coming now.
More
There
recently.
was one more fixture that was away to Aston Villa in very early November.
Okay.
All those passing tiers, which totals to a bonus of 25 points, what do they have in common?
Fabinho wasn't playing.
He's got it in one. Every single passing tier that Jordan Henderson has hit
Because he'd sit
been-
deeper, controlling midfield.
has been without Fabinho.
Simple. It just makes logical sense that he's going to sit deeper, dictating play.
It was something I
Fabinho's
thought,
not gonna be there.
there's a pattern, let me look. And literally every
That-
single one is
It's
without
very,
Fabinho.
very logical.
So
Interesting.
bear that in mind with the likes of Jordan Henderson. This is the sort of deeper diving into statistics that's going to help with your thinking. Because if I didn't look into that, Jordan Henderson would have been a very, very serious consideration for me. Now, Jordan Henderson at the weekend, I think he got man of the match. He obviously scored. He had a great return. But Fabinho was back and he didn't hit passing tier.
Yeah.
So we might be going back to the odd sort of 2s and 3s here. Something worth considering. Now, on to rescheduled fixtures. The first really important thing to point out here is that the February and March fixtures are not set in stone. There are things that can change. Now, the first thing to change, which people are asking, is where will the reschedulement of the 2 matchday 28 fixtures, where will they go? So Villa and Sheffield United has been postponed. I think it's highly likely that it will be after the March international break because of neither club having the issue of European football. There's no need to try and force it into a midweek earlier. It should, in theory, go into the midweek after match days 34 or 37. If not, they can play it in 35, 33. But there's a good chance that that fixture will obviously at some point end up as a singular game day if, for example, Sheffield United progress to the FA Cup semi-finals as well,
Yeah.
for example. Now, the other one's a little bit more complicated, Manchester City and Arsenal, because currently were City and Arsenal to both reach the FA Cup semi-finals, both reach the semi-finals in Europe. There are other circumstances where it could still cause a problem. Essentially, you've got 2 midweeks to fit in 3 rescheduled fixtures. That's why the treble game week of game week 37, although very, very unlikely, does currently still remain a possibility. There is one circumstance where this fixture could be rearranged before the March international fixtures after match day 31. And I think if the circumstance was to happen, there's every chance it would happen. And that's if Arsenal lose to Olympiacos in Europa League. It does mean that there's a date, and I can tell you the exact date now if it would happen. It would be Wednesday, March the 11th, where it is possible, if Arsenal lost in Europa League, that fixture would go then. It would definitely be a Wednesday because City play in the Premier League on the Sunday before and the Saturday afterwards. Mm-hmm. But because the Champions League last 16 is staggered, and if Arsenal were then out of the Europa League, that fixture could be on a Wednesday night, same as West Ham, Liverpool was. No TV coverage, but that's when it will be.
Yep.
And I think that will come about if it's clear that FA Cup progression is on the cards for both, which with the draws they've got, City at Sheffield Wednesday, Arsenal at Portsmouth, we would expect. There's the danger they are not going to want that treble in game week 37 because for Arsenal it's awful. Arsenal would have to play 3 games in 5 days.
Yep.
City, not so bad. But if Arsenal got to Europa League semi-final and had fixtures at the end, they would essentially have to play something like Thursday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. There wouldn't be a way around it.
Okay.
So throwing that fixture in early which is the midweeks between match days 29 and 30, March the 11th, is a possibility if Arsenal lose to Olympiacos. However, looking...
That's FPL 29 and 30.
That's why I say match days, because
Okay.
I'll get the Sky game weeks mixed up.
Yeah.
If we can work that we are about to go into match day 26. Can we go that way?
I have no idea. No, we're about to go into 28
6.
in Sky.
Yeah,
27 and
I'll
8
get
in
the
Sky.
Sky weeks wrong.
Okay.
This weekend is the 26th set of fixtures. I'm going to work in match days with that.
Right, okay.
So those are where those rearranged fixtures go. Obviously, look, if Arsenal progress past Olympiacos in Europe, it's going to be in April or beyond.
Yep.
There's a one circumstance there where it could happen. There are a couple of other fixtures which can still move. Now, the obvious ones to mention is match day 31, the last one that we currently know in terms of the scheduling. That's because there's only 2 fixtures we factually know about that will definitely be on, Burnley and Watford, and Wolves against Bournemouth. The rest are all subject to participation in the FA Cup quarterfinals. Should, at time of recording, obviously if Tottenham lose to Southampton, we know that Tottenham and West Ham on that Friday night will be on.
Yep.
I right now wouldn't get hung up on that weekend. However, a note for that game week, match day 31, the Sunday fixtures are Leicester, Brighton, Southampton, Arsenal.
Correct.
So to the naked eye, with Leicester at home to Birmingham and Arsenal away to Portsmouth, you look at that straight away and think there might not be a Sunday fixture there. Wrong again. Because if Wolves make the last 16 of the Europa League, that Wolves-Bournemouth fixture will get moved to the Sunday.
Okay.
Or possibly even the Monday. Unlikely the Monday, but it would almost certainly be the Sunday. Suddenly then you're looking at Wolves and Bournemouth being a single game day at the end of this set of fixtures. And we're going to come back onto Wolves because there's a run of fixtures which are really, really interesting where you can make serious ground in terms of fixtures with them. There is another fixture that could also get moved to a Sunday. And again, it would be if Arsenal progress to the last 16 of the Europa League. And that would be Arsenal's trip to Brighton would get moved from Saturday the 14th of March to Sunday the 15th in match day 30. Now that's interesting as well because I think a lot of people, that's the one game day, West Ham v Wolves and Tottenham against Manchester United, where on the team I've got bust now, but certainly won't be my final team, that's the one day I have no coverage.
Okay, I've got Raul Jimenez for that day, but yeah.
But if Arsenal play, I do.
Okay.
It's interesting. But Wolves are going to be very much of interest. So those are the ones you need to be aware of in terms of rescheduling, just to know, I guess, particularly those 2 Saturday fixtures, Brighton, Arsenal and Wolves, Bournemouth, if Europa League progression happens, they'll get moves. All of Manchester United's games have already been scheduled to a Sunday. So it wouldn't make any difference to their current schedule at the moment. Other than Manchester United against Sheffield United, but we strongly think, because of the cup draws, that's unlikely to take place in 31. But it could do. I guess in theory, Manchester United, Sheffield United could also go on that Sunday as well. But obviously, we know already Wolves and Bournemouth is definitely going to be on, isn't it? What are you playing with, son?
My wedding room, mate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there issues?
Nah. None at all.
Should we look through captaincies from the start?
Yes. So we're going to only look up until the end of March, which is what we have televised.
Yeah, we ain't looking any further.
There's no point looking further than that. So initially we come up, just one point that I'm going to make now, in terms of what we're talking about and the way I'm setting up my bus team for the purposes of the podcast, I'm doing what you're doing, which is treating the next 2 weeks as 1 week with 6 match days. That means that the team that I talk about now is the team that I'll come out the end of game week 28 and the next week's fixtures with, but won't necessarily be my team throughout because I'll be jumping on and off from the first weekend to the second weekend. But it makes it easier because most people, I think, will be treating it as a kind of one block. The first day is, you've mentioned, we've got Everton against Palace, and we've got Watford away at Brighton.
This is the one, I think, from the opening 6 captaincies that a lot of people are just going, I'm going to skip that.
A few people will skip it.
Yep.
I'm going with Troy Deeney at Watford.
That feels really, really left field. It feels like a Sudge move.
Well, I've got 20 transfers
it's worth saying
and
as
20k.
Well, the Sky listeners might not know this. You hate Troy Deeney.
I hate him.
Why are you doing it?
I hate him. That's probably my least fixed move. But I look at that day and I'm like, who do I fancy? Well, Watford really have been playing better. They'll get in the faces of Brighton. They need to get a result. I fancy a bit of Watford on that day And you are going to bother with an Everton player or not bother?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go for one. I'm gonna cover all of these in the first 6. That's my strategy in terms of where I plan. The only players I would consider from the Brighton and Watford fixture are 2. For me, the choice for Watford would be Delafeu, rated as a midfielder, 8.2. That would be the way I'd go if I was interested. Brighton would be Morpay. I know it's a massive gamble. You won't get the team news as well. 7.5 is an amazing price. The counter issue to that amazing price is if you spend all your budget, it's really difficult to come off it, is the counter to that. So Brighton Watford for me was a rule out straight away. On Everton Palace, there would only be one Palace player I'd consider, and that's the goalkeeper, is Gator at 6.4. They've had a very long run, Palace, without a clean sheet. But they are, as I mentioned, and if you want to join in, so it's a really good one for Sky this week. Actually, our clash of the correspondents tomorrow with at Spirit Blues and McTavish is Everton versus Crystal Palace. And we do ask them a couple of Sky questions, which is interesting because neither of them played a fucking game. I feel like Gator at 6.4 is someone... I don't want to be pissing with a goalkeeper. One of the great things the Hub guys said on Sunday was like, goalkeeper, basically pick it to the end of the season now.
Yeah, that's not what I'm going to do.
We've got so many transfers in, and it's different strategy. But I think for people who are on, like, say, 12, 13 seems to be like common kind of numbers I'm hearing.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a position you want to change.
Yeah,
and
I agree with you on that level. I'm only going to make one transfer on and off in that time. Palace
are also a side that are probably right in the middle of nothing to play for. They've obviously got a few fixtures coming up where if they underperform, they can get dragged into trouble. But thinking towards that April TV schedule, are they going to play outside of a Saturday often? I don't think so.
No.
So that's off-putting in terms of, are you going to get a random Monday night captaincy out of this guy or something? Very unlikely. The reason for considering him as an alternative to the obvious one people are mentioning, Dean Henderson, is this idea that Henderson's losing 2 fixtures.
Yeah.
Being the match day 28, obviously the Villa rearranged game, and match day 31 would be ineligible against Manchester United. But if you're going all the way through, you're losing 1 fixture, aren't you?
Because he's going to play that game
exactly.
later.
He'll play the Villa game.
So on that first day, you're thinking Everton is the team to target?
Yes, definitely.
On the second day, there's no question, is there? It's Manchester City. Manchester City at home to West Ham.
Are you not going Antonio?
I've thought about it. And I'm still thinking about it. And by the end of this podcast, I probably still will be thinking about it. But I think everybody in the game is going to be picking a City player. We don't have a choice on the Friday night because there's only one fixture. Leicester v Wolves. Leicester player? Not
necessarily.
Okay.
We'll come on to this.
For you personally or for everyone, are you saying?
For everybody.
Okay. I'm thinking there's a number of Leicester options in that 10-12 week period, so I'm going Leicester with that. Norwich away for Liverpool is the day after. Is that an obvious lock?
Oh yeah, not captain a Liverpool player. Essentially, any day that Liverpool are playing, you're captaining one of their players.
Yeah,
basically,
pretty much.
You can make the argument match day 32 when they go to Man City.
Yeah.
But,
that's further down the line. Until then, actually, every day they're playing, I'm captain of the player.
Why wouldn't you with that run of fixtures?
Exactly. On the Sunday, there's 2 fixtures. Tottenham away at Villa, and then you've got Arsenal at home to Newcastle. I'm not planning on owning any Spurs or Arsenal players in my Overhaul team as it stands right now, but I am planning on owning Jack Grealish. So this is one where I'll just leave it on Jack Grealish and not waste any transfers for any Spurs or Arsenal players. Otherwise, you'd probably say Spurs are the standouts with that away fixture at Villa.
No, Arsenal would have got the best fixture of the 4.
I don't know. Newcastle are much, much better defensively than Aston Villa.
Yeah, you didn't watch the last 10 minutes from Oxford last night, did you?
Well, it's FA Cup. I'm not reading anything into that. I could see Newcastle holding out Arsenal more than I could see Villa holding you guys out.
And then he spat on my coffee, so I completely disagree with that. Jack Grealish is an absolute fine captaincy for the Sunday if you're going to go that way.
You genuinely don't think that Arsenal have more chance of keeping it? Newcastle have more chance of keeping a clean sheet against Arsenal than Villa against Spurs?
No, I think there's far more chance of Villa keeping a clean sheet against Spurs than Newcastle against Arsenal.
That Yeah, well, that's polar opposites. Because Newcastle sit defensively, 5 at the back.
Yeah.
They're good defensively. Villa league goals for fun.
Yeah, and I know how my Spurs tend to play away from home at the moment. It's
Yeah,
not,
true.
It's not great.
I mean, Arsenal did particularly well at Burnley at the weekend, didn't they? They can break through. I don't trust Arsenal's attack.
Different at the Emirates.
I don't trust Arsenal's attack. But anyway, the following day is Manchester United Chelsea, and because there is Manchester United have a couple of other single, one definitely other single match day, you end up just putting in the Man United player to give you that coverage, right? So Man United have made their way onto the must have one of their players kind of list.
Have they?
Well, if you're going to cover your captaincy,
There's a lot of people thinking, I mean, at the moment, I haven't got a Manchester United player, and I've covered for captaincy. I've got a Chelsea player at the moment.
Yeah, Chelsea, and then the other game in their single game is against Everton.
Well,
and if you're taking your Everton player from the first,
we've kind of jumped a bit, but Manchester United are obviously very interesting because until that scheduled fixture against Sheffield United in match day 31, they have no Saturday fixtures. They could cover you off, but obviously if Wolves and Arsenal progress in Europe, it's nearly the same case with them as well. I think Arsenal are nearly all Sundays, aren't they? Other than obviously they miss now the match day 28 fixture against Manchester City. So yeah, United covers you off. That's why I mentioned I was looking ahead and looking at someone like Fred. Fred's not in my squad at the moment. Come Saturday morning, he might be. I think from them, he's the way I'd go.
The next day, there's quite a few fixtures, 6 or 7 games on that day. I've earmarked Sheffield United's home game against Brighton to give me captaincy coverage on that day. I don't like the looks of Leicester, Man City, or what have you. Any of those games really. I think Sheffield United at home to Brighton might be the best option.
Yes, could be. Sheffield United, the other reason they pique interest at the moment is, yes, although they'll miss that 28 fixture, their next 3 scheduled fixtures are all at home against sides struggling against relegation in Bournemouth, Brighton and Norwich.
Yep.
There's got to be clean sheets in there, hasn't there? You'd almost accept if that one in the middle had been Man City away, you'd probably almost accept it and go, yeah, okay, look at them 3 other fixtures. That's again why I think the majority will migrate towards Dean Henderson. That Saturday, February 22nd, I think it's gone really unnoticed at the moment because, like you said, it's not easy.
Nah.
Leicester against City. I mean, the default, I think, there for what a lot of people will do is just go, yep, Kevin De Bruyne. Okay, thanks, that'll do. The interesting one from that set of fixtures, I think, is Danny Ings. Southampton at home to Aston Villa. Southampton also have an amazing run of fixtures. Burnley at home, Villa at home, West Ham away, Newcastle at home, Norwich away. And that's why Danny Ings is the temptation. And having delved into Southampton and other potential assets, like McCarthy 6.6, I'm not paying it. I realise it's only 0.2 more than, say, a Henderson. I'm not paying that extra.
Nah. Danny Ings is a fair shout.
For me, from Southampton, it would only be Danny Ings or not bother. At the moment, my take would be not bother because I think that 22nd of February plays a key role in that I would probably default to De Bruyne. Because with De Bruyne, I'm just not so worried about the fixtures. And therefore, I don't know if I'm going to get what I really want out of Danny Ings. He tends to score in ones anyway as well, right? You'd accept it. And if you told me now he gets 5 and 5, then I'd want to get him. But I don't know if you're going to get the returns you want when you smash into him.
What about on the Sunday? I've gone with Wolves at the moment, who have Norwich at home. Just Raul Jimenez. He's going to be in my overhaul team. So I'm just stick the armband on him that day.
So if we take a step back to the first Sunday that we've got coming up, Sheffield United, Bournemouth and Man City, West Ham. One of the things I began to think about, because I hadn't really considered it, was escape routes, immediate escape routes. So if you take selling Everton on that first game day, if you just want to get the 3 I would consider is Holgate for cheapness, Calvert-Lewin for budget as a forward. If you want to go for the consistency and a guy you want to leave in there for a while, probably Richarlison. I think those are the... Holgate's 6'1". It's dirt cheap. Calvert-Lewin is, what is he, 8'8"? Yeah, 8'8". Richarlison's expensive, 10'2", but he's the second highest scoring midfielder in the league. Basically, I don't know, underwhelmed to a lot of us, but he's a sky machine, isn't he? Now, if you come off Everton straight away, you can basically at any point sell them for 2 for 0s, 3 for 1s, 4 for 2s, 5 for 3s. And it's another reason why I really think, do you know what, get the guy in you think's going to do it this weekend and captain them. But with them, I'd look further and go, well, going on to that Sunday, Richarlison away at Arsenal, I don't mind that, you know. If I'm in a position with no Wolves, I don't mind that. Then if I go Chelsea and I haven't got Manchester United at home to Watford, I ain't going to smash into them because you'd smash into Rashford, who's not fit.
Yeah.
Fernandes at 10.1 is too expensive, in my opinion, to love seeing more. He might prove to be a great asset. He will shoot from anywhere, clearly. Don't forget, he hit shot and passing tiers against Wolves. The majority of people hit passing tiers and that against Wolves because of how deep they sit and the way they want to counter-attack. Wolves are not a good judge of how good a Sky asset someone could be.
No.
So I need to see more before I'd consider Fernandes. Now, Wolves is interesting because they play Norwich at home, right? And they obviously have the Friday fixture against Leicester when I think because Leicester have ended up with all these individual days, Wolves away, Norwich away, Villa at home, they are single game days. You're automatically drawn back into Leicester players. And some sort of Leicester coverage, in my opinion, is a must. I don't think it has to be Jamie Vardy, but I think something from Leicester has to be done. If you take Man City against yourselves, captain of De Bruyne or whatever, and then you think, well, they've got that 28 blank, they've got Leicester away the following week. Are there quick escape routes? And again, I think City's one, you've got to have some coverage for the West Ham fixture. Pretty mad not to. And captaining a City player against West Ham already feels like it's going to be worth it. Everyone's going to be on De Bruyne. It's the safe thing to do, even if it's just a cover as a shield. And if you come off City after the West Ham fixture, you can have, for example, a 4-for-1 from Wolves.
You have a 4-for-1 from Liverpool, mate.
Is that right?
Yep. Liverpool got Norwich, West Ham, Watford, Bournemouth, and in that time, City just play Leicester. And then the Arsenal game's rearranged, and then they're back to Manchester United. I'll go to Liverpool, mate.
So you can, and from a budget perspective, it makes more sense
With
to
De
be
Bruyne,
going
you
from
can afford to go anywhere.
De Bruyne's to, if you've got
Mane
news that Mane was fit, if you don't want to put Mane in straight away, and then you got the news on Friday that you're not going to know the Liverpool team on the Saturday, but if Klopp said on the Friday, he's fit, he's going to play, temptation is on there straight away. So Liverpool as well, 4-for-1.
Yep.
So that leads right up until Manchester City's fixture at Manchester United on March the 8th. The one City fixture you would miss is Leicester away. So you could have Liverpool away to Norwich, home to West Ham, away to Watford, at home to Bournemouth. That's salivating, isn't it? Like, what are you going to keep the Man City guy in there for? And even Wolves, so Leicester at home, you need the captaincy. Norwich at home is the Sunday fixture. I think it'd be very tempting. Then they've got Tottenham away is another Sunday, and then Brighton at home on a Saturday before that Manchester City fixture. And that's why Part said about maybe not starting with a Wolves player. I might go to Jimenez. Jimenez is so under the radar for this game.
Yep.
Because of price. I think it's 10-6 Raul Jimenez.
He is, you're right.
And,
He's in
and the
overall
case
team,
against it is obviously Traore at 6.9. The problem with Adama Traore is he ain't hitting none of the tiers.
No.
He obviously is hitting quite a few man of the matches. But he basically feels like unless he hits the man of the match, he's not getting you anything. He's getting you twos. Whereas Raul Jimenez proven any time, any place.
Let's rattle through
And
these.
he would be a real differential,
Yeah. We've got another 11 game days to go through quickly, and then we'll start talking about players. On the Monday night, Liverpool West Ham, you're going to go Liverpool. The next game, Leicester away at Norwich, you're going to go Leicester. Liverpool at home, away at Watford.
29th, yep.
You take Liverpool.
Yep.
Because there's obviously City and what have you. That's the day that the rearranged games are.
Yep.
On the Sunday, Manchester United away at Everton, or Tottenham at home to Wolves. I don't have any Spurs assets. I'll probably just skip Spurs and just stick with Man United.
But the way I think that'll break down for me now is it could be, we're all talking about getting straight off Everton, but looking at those sort of City numbers and mentioning, for example, someone like Richarlison, you could maybe go, away to Arsenal. That's not as bad as it sounds. And he scored against United last year as well in that 4-0 victory late in the season. So could Richarlison end up... I think if you go Richarlison, it's all right to hold longer through the more difficult fixtures. The others I wouldn't want to so much. Richarlison's different.
I don't know if I like those fixtures at all, but...
That's one of two entry points for Tottenham, is that. Because, again, if you take the example, say you want to come off Leicester after the Norwich fixture, for example, suddenly you're going into Tottenham Wolves. The following Saturday, you're obviously going to captain a Liverpool asset against Bournemouth, but Tottenham are at Burnley. And then Tottenham have the Sunday fixture, Manchester United, possibly the Friday fixture to be confirmed against West Ham. When, if that game does happen, you're probably going to want an entry point into an Aurier or a Son. They're the only two Spurs players, by the way, I would consider. And the entry points are either that Wolves fixture or I think the Manchester United fixture is probably more sensible.
So when Liverpool play at Bournemouth at home, you're going to go Liverpool. The following day, you've got City away at Manchester United. You'd probably just stick with a City asset. Leicester at home.
Hang
to
on,
Aston
I've
Villa.
still got Richarlison away to Chelsea, mate.
Yeah, you could, if you're going to stick with him. Leicester at home to Aston Villa on the Monday night game, that is, right? And then we're into the last couple of weeks. You've got Manchester City at home to Burnley.
Yeah, that's the obvious one. That's the most obvious City one other than the West Ham fixture, yeah.
Wolves on the Sunday at home to West Ham. Away at West Ham.
Yep.
But I'd take Raul Jimenez. And then Liverpool for the Monday game against Everton at home, which by then they'll probably have wrapped up the title potentially, or they could be very close.
There's
a game or
every
two
chance that they could clinch the title at Goodison Park.
So there, for me, I've got 5 Liverpool captaincies in that time, 3 from Leicester, 2 from Wolves, and then Manchester United, Sheffield United, Aston Villa, bits and bobs here and there. But Liverpool really are the key. Liverpool, City, Leicester covers you 80%, and then you can jump and skip and mix and match on the rest.
Is there any case not to go with a single player from these first 2 match days? Is there any case for that? When you look at the easy jumps off, like we said there with Man City to Liverpool or Wolves, you could go to City.
Well, the case is if
and
you don't have any
you could jump
transfers.
off budget-wise to Liverpool and Wolves.
The case is if you've got less than 10 transfers left and you're like, I don't want to waste transfers. But if you've got more than 10 transfers, then there's the opportunity to do it. But yeah, the fixtures are not storming. So I'm not. If you want to skip it, but just kind of have a plan with where you're going. Let's go through your overhaul team, and then maybe when we're talking about specific players, you can kind of allude to, are they a lock and you're not jumping on, jumping off, or are they a merry-go-round player that you are happy to jump on, jump off?
Are we going to do some of these Twitter cues, by the way?
Oh, yeah, we should do,
Yeah, we should.
I
I
forgot
forgot to tell you about that.
them.
There's loads.
We probably answered all of them. We might have to do a Twitter special Q&A. But let's talk about some of these players quickly. In goal,
I would say for my overhaul team right now, in terms of absolute locks to start the game with, none.
okay.
Genuinely.
I think,
And that's because of the potential jump off of Manchester City and how much do I, for example, right now, I've got 2 Manchester City players and I might sell them both going into Norwich, Liverpool or Wolves, Leicester, for example.
Yeah.
So although I may not be starting with them, I might be, for example. So I'm covered captaincy for every day bar the March 15th day of West Ham v Wolves, Tottenham, Man United, and with an Arsenal asset in there at the moment. Obviously, if the Arsenal-Brighton fixture ends up on that day, I would be completely covered as it stands. But I need to have a real big think, because when I bust this and then doing further research before we started this pod, that jumping off City idea, jumping off Arsenal, for example, after they play Everton on February 23rd, there's Leicester's 3-for-1s and others, for example. I need to have a stronger think. But I am bust at the moment currently. Dean Henderson in goal.
I'm on Dean Henderson in goal as well, so we're in agreement on something.
The most obvious pick of all, Virgil van Dijk.
He is in my team as well, and he's just going to sit there.
I don't quite know how his top 1k ownership won't be 100% when they play Norwich. Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yep.
Controversy coming up here. Double Leicester. Ricardo Pereira. He's a beast in this game. And Siunku, for me, right now, stays. I just think he offers still incredible value at 6.2, playing for the 3rd best team in the league. Yes, his passing numbers have dropped off somewhat in the last month or so. That said, they have had a more difficult run of fixtures. Even things like Southampton at home are playing. Southampton went there and won, didn't they? Playing very well at the moment. So yes, his numbers have completely dropped off, going back really to sort of the start of December, but at that value, I'm not as bothered about it as everybody else is. And I think you can get into a mindset where you think, oh, this guy's losing his passing tiers. We all forgot he's 6.2 playing for one of the best teams in the country at the moment.
Yep.
So I think he's offers consistently. He's nailed on starter. When I look at comparing to players at similar price, there's 3 other players I'd consider basically the same price. Baldock at Sheffield United. I'm just not as keen to go double defensive like Baldock and Henderson as others would be. Reece James at Chelsea is someone I will strongly consider in the next couple of days. I think he's close to a lock now, right back. The concern with Reece James is the Champions League. I think if they progress, that could potentially become a problem. Mason Holgate at 6.1 offers a captaincy for the first game day. So there are alternatives. There's escapes as well, right? If this becomes a problem with Sionku.
It's interesting. I've gone with Dean Henderson in goal. I have a plan to go to Dubravka and then come back to Dean Henderson. So once, let me have a look here. Once Sheffield United have played Brighton, then I'll be going to Dubravka, getting 5 games out of Dubravka for 2 for Henderson. And there's also a couple of tough fixtures in there. And then coming back to Dean Henderson. But Dean Henderson is the one for me. Trent and Virgil van Dijk are absolute locks for me. I don't see any reason not to go with those 2. But where you've gone to Leicester, I've gone all in on Sheffield United. I'm keeping Baldock. He served me well. And I'm getting Jack O'Connell. So I'll end up with a triple Sheffield United defence. The thing with Baldock and O'Connell is, whilst they'll miss the Villa game, they will be eligible for the Manchester United game, but we don't even know if that's happening right now. I'll worry about that when I need to worry about that. I think
with the players at that price as well, if you're taking Baldock, O'Connell is fine. For example, like me, Sionku, these guys really are they're more of they're the set and forgets.
Yeah.
I don't want to be pissing about with my 6.2 million defenders. Sionku goes in, he's staying for the season bar injury. I just accept it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the call you need to make. Do you really want 3 of them? If they end up in a position where come the end of March, I don't know, for whatever reason they have a downturn, Europe looks a mile off, where are they at for the rest of the season? What about if they get to the late stages of the FA Cup? Do the eggs suddenly go in there? I think once you go, you've got to stay.
Yeah, that's where I kind of stand at the moment on there. What about midfield? I think Kevin De Bruyne has put himself as literally 100% ownership kind of thing here. So we're both on Kevin De Bruyne?
Yep, Kevin De Bruyne, obviously, certainty. He would be my captain on the Sunday against West Ham. There is a strong possibility I will sell him after the game. And the same applies to Riyad Mahrez. I really think it's worth the gamble with the Sterling news at the moment, but it is just one game. And what I need to weigh up is if I'm going to go De Bruyne captain, not captain Mahrez, because there's the fear of it, or even with Sterling out, there's the fear of the start, right? He could go Bernardo on the right, Jesus on the left, and Aguero up front.
I'm going to be captaining Riyad Mahrez against West Ham. Yeah. In Sky.
Is it worth smashing into those 2, considering that I might be selling them straight away? Because I think
you've got enough transfers.
I think the gain to come away from Manchester City is there. That's as big a gain as you could possibly, 4-for-1s on that. 24 Liverpool over City. I feel like we're not mentioning it. Wolves as well, like Jimenez, Traore, even defensively, they've got good fixtures as well, Wolves. That's where I come back, guys. Is it even worth it? Should I just go De Bruyne? And I haven't decided. Richarlison in for me.
Yeah.
And Richarlison's a more likely longer-term hold than the City guys because of the fixtures. At the moment, and here's a differential shout for you, Gabriel Martinelli, 6.3 million at the moment, is in for me. It could well be that I'll start with Aubameyang is another one, straight off City to Aubameyang for that Sunday. Martinelli gives a nice spread of coverage for a lot of Sundays. And he picks up a few tackle bonuses, just looking through some of his numbers. So last two of the last 3, he's had tier 1 tackles, obviously scored twice in those 3 fixtures as well. He's playing well. It looks like he's got the nod over Pepe at the moment. It's another one, Europe. Rotation fears. They're miles off top 4 at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah.
Do they transfer their eggs into that and cut competitions? Your midfield, Sidge?
Kevin De Bruyne, Riyad Mahrez, Jack Grealish.
Okay.
Simple
so
as
you're
that.
A 3.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm a 2 up front, and the part of that is obviously to come off the big hitting midfielders. De Bruyne and Mahrez could very easily become Traore +1 financially, not a problem.
Yeah.
I am at the moment Tammy Abraham. That's my Chelsea Manchester United
yeah.
coverage. There's further Chelsea further down the lines. Which, I think Everton at home, March the 8th, for example, that might be of interest. The only other Chelsea player I would have considered is Reece James. And to be honest, the only Man United player I'd consider is Fred. So I think it's slim pickings. And I think for a captaincy option, Abraham's the standout there. Especially, obviously, as they didn't buy anyone. And Mohamed Salah.
I'm sitting on Jamie Vardy at the moment. I have no other Leicester coverage, so Jamie Vardy ticks all the boxes for my captaincy options. Mo Salah right now is as good as it gets. If I can save a bit of money on Mane, then I might look at that down the line, but that's it. And Raul Jimenez. So I feel what my strategy here is very much around go all. It's like free hitting. Just go all. I'm going all in on Sheffield United with 3 of them. I have 3 Liverpool, 2 Man City, 1 Leicester, and then a Wolves and a Villa to just make up the squad. I feel like going all in, and then I'll manoeuvre my way around. But literally, yeah, looking at it that way is where I am at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's players I haven't got in the squad who would massively consider. I've got a short list of about 50 at the moment, just to throw out some names that we haven't spoken about. So, I mean, Jack Grealish, for example, is still on my radar. Goalkeeper-wise, there's 5 that I would consider. I think we've mentioned 3 of them. Alisson has to come in consideration in spite of the 8 million price because of the consistency back there. I think whether people do or don't go Alisson's going to be very dependent on value. The one we haven't mentioned, because you mentioned Dubravka, really like that as a shout. He's picking up a lot of bonus points. Is Nick Pope at Burnley. I think one of the reasons Nick Pope might particularly appeal is form-wise it's good at the moment. And Burnley are the one side that we know will not have any blanks. So if you're looking to pick someone who's going to play every week, now to the end, Burnley will give you a player every week, and there's no one to look at there from other than Nick Pope. And like I looked at Chris Wood, it's too expensive. We went for Everton. There's Leicester names I'd consider on top of Pereira Syunku. I could well start with Vardy. I could well start with James Maddison. I like Harvey Barnes at 7.2. Liverpool, all the guys as you would expect. In terms of 1 week punts for the weekend, if we got some interesting news on Laporte, 10.3, and also Mendy with Zinchenko's suspension at 9.1.
Yeah.
But again, I really feel that City are throw in and dump. And Aguero, obviously, 12.1 is worth considering. Cantwell, Norwich, 5.8.
He's
cheap
enabler, isn't he, really?
Yeah. And your boy Antonio, 8.2, but I don't suppose you can be looking at the moment. With those fixtures, it'd be mad, wouldn't it?
Whether you listen to me or don't listen to me, just do one thing, don't pick a West Ham player.
The only team I looked at and when I absolutely wouldn't go near them at the moment is Bournemouth. There's literally nothing I can see from an asset-wise that would interest me in any way about them at all.
Should we have a look at some Twitter questions, James?
Yes, please.
Let's do it. We've got a few to go through. So many that we've obviously answered in the course of conversation, as we always do.
But thank you for all the questions. It's by far the most we've had for Sky Pod.
Overhaul time. Here we go. Dan9FF. How many players who blank for League Cup is too many to own? Will you cover all captain days for the first game week? So the answer to the second question is yes. For the first week, we're covering everybody. How many players who blank for the League Cup weekend is too many to own? I will be on 2. And probably by the time we get to that, I'll only be on 1.
With the way I would have it,
more,
I would have it bust now would be Martinelli and Henderson for me, because I'm pretty sure I'll have. I would
4.
sell De Bruyne and Mahrez, but I wouldn't be so. I'm not going to shove off Martinelli's and Henderson's if I'm happy with them at that value. Just skip the fixture.
Yep.
Honestly, I'm not joking. In terms of start, none of my 11 are secure because of the moves of City.
We've got Foxy FPL. How are you, Anoop? Are you going to have any Spurs assets in your teams? Well, you've just heard where we're at. No, and no, really. I'll be coming on and off Spurs if that West Ham game is confirmed, but that's pretty much it.
No, definitely not to start for me. In my opinion, I can understand the temptation with the Villa game. I think if you've got Grealish, it's interesting how certain players impact your thinking on others. So I think if you've got Jack Grealish, you kind of almost stop looking at Arsenal and Tottenham. So for me, my thoughts on Grealish looking at it are good fixture against Tottenham, good fixture away to Southampton, then comes the wet lettuce, mate. Then it's absolutely awful. And at his value, it's the big hitting guys, the De Bruynes, the Salahs, the Vardys and all them that I'm happy to pop in and out. The guys around Jack Grealish value are the really big calls at the moment because they're the ones you want to put in and leave in. And I think Villa's fixtures are awful.
Horrible. Well, the thing is, Grealish is the main man.
Of course
and he's
he
the
is.
one that
Absolutely. They could get beat and he could win man of the match. He's clearly the guy and he's going to keep picking up man of the matches. I'm not sure there's going to be any returns with that. It's another thing I need to think about with Adama Traore is kind of similar. I think those two are borderline for so many people. I think Grealish, a lot of people will go with, but the fixtures are nasty.
Yeah.
And there might be other cheaper options that are emerging. What's interesting is the way I'm starting here is with heavy hitting midfielders, which we've not done all year, right?
No, you're
but it's
right.
to look at diving off potentially. Jack Grealish, absolutely fine if you want to go. It's just interesting how, like I said, if you go Grealish, you probably avoid like Aubameyang, Son and that, how one affects the other just because of that first game week.
Yeah,
but I'd prefer Arsenal captaincy over Tottenham on that Sunday.
It was Tom Campbell's question was Grealish is such great value and he gives you early captaincy versus Spurs and what have you. But what do you do after the Saints? Do you move him on? And I think James has just answered that quite succinctly. Probably try not to waste transfers by mucking around with that spot.
I think he's get or hold or don't get. The flip of that, of course, is you have got them two fixtures and then before it gets awful, they blank. So there is the nice, easy getaway from Villa's fixture. So if you come off Villa after they play Southampton, you can get immediate gains on United, Watford, Wolves, Norwich, Arsenal, Everton, Liverpool, West Ham. I guess value-wise, something like the first two games of Grealish, then on to Adama Traore versus Norwich is the sort of, if you want to make that kind of escape route.
Rob Pick, he's interested in thoughts on the goalkeeping position with Henderson blanking. Is it worth sticking money up for Alisson, or if not, what cheaper options? Well, we've mentioned Pope as one, or Gaeta.
Five choices.
Yeah,
Gaeta, I think, is a choice because of that first Saturday. Pope is a choice because they won't blank, but if it's going to be a season keeper, is he going to be the highest scoring in that value? Because there's nothing between Henderson, Gaeta, Pope. Do you think Henderson with one less game will outscore Pope and Gaeta if you're going to keep them in over the course of between now and the end of the season? I think the answer is yes, Henderson. I think the Bravka a little bit more because of the amount of save bonuses picking up is more likely to threaten Henderson. And Alisson, at the moment, you would think would be the highest scoring keeper between now and the end, but then the money expresses that, right? They're the only five I would consider goalkeeper-wise.
Couple more questions here. FPL Corf, how many transfers are you both aiming to hold for the final 5 game weeks? Well, we talked about the 7 game weeks. It's 10 in the last 7, but somewhere in and around 7 or 8.
Can't answer that till the FA Cup 5th round is done.
There we go.
Can't answer it because those doubles at the end might be shitty teams playing 3 or 4 times. It might depend in terms of what you've got as well. So I wouldn't think about that too much. The one thing on reflection, breaking down these fixtures against what I'd anticipated looking further on, there are far more gains to be made over this period than I'd realised. Far more.
FPL Miller, which 5 players will be first in your squad?
Well, if we're doing it and assume in terms of actual match day rather than necessarily starting in the squad, VVD, Trent, Salah.
Henderson.
No, I'm not definitely on Henderson. Pereira for me. I'm still very happy to go with that. Solid as. The other one, wow. Well, it's De Bruyne, isn't it? 'Cause I'm definitely going to start with him.
FPL Weasel says, who will likely be your captains over the first 2 game weeks? We'll hit rewind. We've been through the potential for those.
Richarlison, De Bruyne, Pereira, if I don't buy, Salah, Martinelli if I don't buy Abraham.
Dini, Mahrez, Vardy, Salah, Grealish, to be confirmed.
But like that Wolves Leicester could easily be Jimenez or Vardy. The Arsenal fixture could easily be Aubameyang. If I end up with Jack Grealish, could easily be Jack Grealish.
What do you think about Tanganga as a cheap enabler at 4.8 or whatever?
I think of those, good question, a few have asked that. I think of those priced at the 4.5-ish area. I think the best choice is Gilbert. And it just doesn't fill with any joy. You got the blank in 28. Again, it's a position you don't want to be pissing about with. Like Tanganga looks all right now, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Ben Davies is back in the squad for Spurs tonight.
Wow.
So, I mean, good luck gambling on that. There's every chance you go Japhet Tanganga, you are straight away with 10 players. And you're really forcing that transfer to a Gilbert. I mean, Dan Burns injured. You got Williams at Man United. They're the 4, aren't they?
Yep.
Who are really cheap. I think if Burn was fit, you'd go, yep. Do you want to take sort of 3-4 weeks till he gets fit? I don't think so. And that's why I'm avoiding that area, because although I think Gilbert maintains favouritism over El Mohammadi, it does seem to change now and again. At the moment, I've been playing with a back 5. What's the impact if they change to a back 4? A few have asked me, is there any chance that Ben Davies comes back in, Tanganga goes to right back? No, I think between Aurea, Tanganga and Ben Davies, Aurea's the safest of the 3.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility Tanganga takes the place of Davinson Sanchez, essentially? Possibly. Also very unlikely. Tanganga's also been playing in the harder looking fixtures, which are the ones you quite often with these guys happy for them to miss. So I think if I had to go in at that value, it would be Gilbert for me. I'm going to completely avoid it. Tanganga could prove absolutely fantastic. And if something becomes clear, I don't know, Davis gets injured again or Aurea, for example, you can always jump down to it if it becomes obvious.
An issue.
I think that's better than the other way round.
Indeed. Jez, we'll be chatting for an hour.
Woo!
That's a lot of Sky. So do you think you will have your overhaul finished in time for the final plan? I'm trying to plug the final plan here so there are people listening.
Yeah, I tell you what, yeah, I'll just read it out. We won't do Sky on it as such, but yeah,
No.
I will confirm it exclusively on the final plan, subject to team
Injuries
news,
and all that
obviously.
kind of stuff. I will
Yeah.
be doing exactly the same, tweaking my overhaul team. I'm not one that, like how some people in FPL, when they're on their wild card, will tweet about 20 versions of as they're making their tweaks. This will go out once it's done and dusted. I think the stuff that we've been through on this pretty much covers the 40 or 50 options that actually are genuine options on Sky.
What I'll be doing in the next 24 to 36 hours is looking seriously at what moves I'm making, when I'm making them, and then I can look at what the starting team's going to be, because the team that I end this first match day with all of a sudden is probably not going to be the same as what I'm going to start it with. So it could be, like I keep saying it, but coming off the City guys, those 4-1s, Liverpool, Wolves, I haven't underestimated. There's another one with Liverpool at the end. Like if Liverpool play against Palace in match day 31, and we've only got 3 or 4 fixtures, and they're playing at Everton away on the Monday before that,
Yep.
Are we in the whole situation with West Ham and Wolves again, where everyone's going to go mad for them? That's why I think it's definitely better off blocking Liverpool in at the start as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Do stay tuned to Planet FPL for all of the rest of the shows that we've got this week. Tomorrow we have Clash of the Correspondents, Everton against Crystal Palace. So we've got Sean at Spirit_Blues on representing Everton. McTavius makes it on to Clash of the Correspondents with a guest this time, representing Palace. So that's coming out. And then final plan this week where we will have sorted out our overhauls, but then we've got our North v South team, regular FPL teams, and all of the jazz.
Differential team had another great week, mate.
Yeah, it is doing well. How many points behind you is it?
It's not many. It's really not many anymore.
There we go. Guys, thanks for tuning into Sky FF. If you've got any other thoughts on the overhauls, by all means do tweet them out. That's when the podcast is tweeted out, because it's always good to get some differing opinions and ideas on this. Other than that, thank you for joining us. Ciao for now.
Cue music, man, child. Good luck, everyone.